Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Time Daily. Have you ever listened to someone from another English-speaking country and thought, wow, we're speaking the same language, but it sounds completely different? You're not alone. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating journey to discover the unique sounds of British, American, and Australian accents. We'll explore why these accents sound so distinct and what makes each one special. So, grab a cup of tea, coffee, or whatever you fancy, and let's dive in. First, let's talk about the big picture. Why are there so many accents in the first place? Well, language is like a living thing. It evolves and changes over time. When groups of people move to new places and are separated by oceans, their speech patterns naturally start to drift apart. This is exactly what happened with English. Colonists from Britain travelled to America and Australia, and over centuries, influenced by new environments, cultures, and interactions with other languages, their English took on a life of its own. It's a beautiful story of history told through sound. Let's start with one of the most noticeable differences, the letter R. In American English, the R sound is almost always pronounced, especially after a vowel. This is called a rhotic accent. Think of words like car, park, or hard. You can clearly hear that R sound at the end. An American would say, "I'm going to park my car in the yard." Now, let's hop across the pond to Britain. In most of England, particularly in the south, they have a non-rhotic accent. This means the R sound is often dropped when it comes after a vowel. So, car becomes car, park becomes pock, and hard sounds like hod. A British person might say, "I'm going to park my car in the yard." It's a softer, more rounded sound. And what about our friends down under in Australia? They also have a non-rhotic accent, much like the British. So, they too would say car and pock. This shared feature is a clue to their shared linguistic roots. However, don't be fooled. Australian English has its own unique melody and rhythm that sets it apart, which we'll get into in just a moment. This R sound is one of the quickest ways to get a clue about where an English speaker might be from. Now, let's move on to vowels, because this is where things get really interesting, especially between British and Australian English. Vowels are the soul of an accent, giving it its unique flavour. Take the A sound in a word like dance or bath. In standard British English, often called received pronunciation or RP. This is a long R sound. So you'd hear dance and bath. In American English, it's typically a short A sound, as in cat. So you get dance and bath. It's a very different mouth shape and sound. But what about Australian English? This is where it gets its own special twist. Australian vowels are often described as being more fronted and raised in the mouth. A classic example is the I sound in a word like nice. While an American or Brit might say nice, an Australian might say something that sounds closer to noise. It's a subtle shift, but it's one of the most iconic features of the Aussie accent. Similarly, the A sound in a word like say can sound more like SI to other English speakers. It's this unique vowel system that gives Australian English its distinctive, laid-back cadence. Of course, we can't talk about accent differences without touching on vocabulary. This is where the culture and history of each place really shine through. We all know the classic examples. Americans say elevator, while the British say lift. Americans wear sneakers, the British wear trainers, and Australians might call them runners. What you eat for a sweet treat is also a great indicator. Americans love their cookies and candy, but in the UK, you'd ask for a biscuit and sweets. In Australia, you might be munching on a bicky and some lollies. And the slang. Oh, the slang is a world of its own. In Australia, you might hear "G'day mate" as a friendly greeting. If someone says they're going to the arvo, they mean the afternoon. And if something is crook, it means it's broken or someone is feeling sick. In Britain, if you're chuffed, you're very pleased. If something is dodgy, it's unreliable. And in America, if you're going to hang out with friends, you're spending time together. These expressions are like little linguistic postcards from each country, painting a picture of daily life and culture. Spelling is another area where you'll see clear divides, primarily between American and British English. Australian English tends to follow British spelling conventions. This is largely thanks to a man named Noah Webster, an American lexicographer who wanted to make American English distinct and, in his view, more logical. That SY Americans write colour and honour without the U you see in the British and Australian spellings, colour and honour. You'll also see differences in words ending in ER versus ERI. Americans go to the centre of a theatre, while Brits and Aussies visit the centre of a theatre. It's a small difference on the page, but it reflects a major historical split in how the language was standardized. So, why do all these differences exist? It all comes back to history and culture. American English was shaped by waves of immigrants from all over the world, not just Britain. Their languages and accents mixed into the melting pot, simplifying some things and adding new words. British English, while also influenced by invaders and neighbours over centuries, had its standard accent RP associated with the upper class education and the BBC for a long time. This created a sort of linguistic benchmark within the UK. Australian English has a different story. It began as a mix of accents from all over the British Isles, as people from London, Ireland, and various rural areas were transported to the new colony. Over time, these different accents blended together into something new and uniquely Australian. The accent reflects the country's egalitarian or equal spirit. It's less about class and more about a shared national identity. The famous Aussie upward inflection, where statements can sometimes sound like questions, is thought to reflect a friendly, open, and inclusive communication style. So, to recap this wonderful linguistic journey, we have the prominent R sound that sets American English apart. We have the unique vowel shifts that give Australian and British English their distinct melodies. We have a treasure trove of different words and slang terms that add so much colour and personality to each variety of English, and we have spelling differences that serve as a constant reminder of the language's historical journey. Isn't it amazing how one language can have so many different voices? Each accent tells a story of migration, identity, and the beautiful, ever-changing nature of human communication. None of them are right or wrong. They are simply different, each with its own charm and history. Learning to understand and appreciate these variations not only makes you a better English listener, but also gives you a deeper connection to the diverse cultures of the English-speaking world. So next time you hear an accent that's different from your own, listen closely. What can you notice? The R sounds, the vowels, the rhythm. It's a fun little game you can play. And remember, the goal of language is communication and connection. Embracing these differences is part of the fun. Thank you so much for joining us on English Time Daily today. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of British, American, and Australian accents as much as I have. Which accent is your favorite, and are there any words or phrases we missed? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from you. If you found this video helpful and interesting, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious.